Unspoiled Network podcast.
This is Unspoiled, covering the Maid and the Crocodile. Chapters 6, 7, 8, and 9. In these chapters, Sade has a new job, but it comes with a lot of strings attached. So very many strings. One of the strings is a lesbian. What are we going to do about this? Welcome to Unspoiled. Welcome to the show, everyone. I am Natasha.
I'm Rashawn.
Yeah, so this section really sets up some stakes for us.
Yeah, I
being
enjoyed
asked
this
a lot.
Yeah, this trial basis, this probationary period for this job has got a lot on the line.
Mm-hmm.
And Mamadele is really expecting some fucking real Jesus quality miracles.
Yeah. I'm going to need her to temper her expectations a little bit here, madam.
And then we get to meet small Sade's new co-workers, the amenities, and I really did enjoy all of them so far.
Agree.
Even the kid, Fenric, who we're clearly supposed to be like, oh, this guy. And I was. Yeah. I was like, oh, this guy. But I still like him.
He would definitely be like, why didn't you use that money to buy yourself an LLC?
Fenric's got a podcast.
Yep. All right, so let's start with chapter 6, where we go into the villa for the first time. And this turns out to just be, on its own, a problem. Because Sade doesn't like multiple story buildings.
No, does not feel
very
comfortable.
Interesting idea. Never really thought of this before.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's a couple of different things happening. One, I think, it's a fun way, I think, to play on, and I might be making too much of it, but for me, it was like, there's an idea that we have of what it is to like live in Africa, that, even though this is like African inspired, but they're not like literally, you know what I mean? The story is
yeah.
But you guys know what I'm getting at. And so we have an idea in our head of what the cities and towns look like, and we don't really think of multi-story buildings, and we don't think of high rises, and we think of everybody living like lower, closer to the ground, in single story houses or huts or whatever your like biases may be. And then we find out that she is from a small village, but then spent time in a high-rise orphanage, and that was an adjustment for her. And that this idea, I like the idea of the sort of, it's not just claustrophobia that she's describing, because she's concerned about actual building collapse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which is a very sort of specific thing to fear. But if you are unaccustomed, or if you didn't grow up like living in places like that, or being surrounded by places like that where you get a level of comfort, then it would be really weird feeling, and feel like I don't feel safe unless I'm on the ground. Like I need like literally, like I need to be grounded, and otherwise I feel very vulnerable.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but I like the idea of reading this and being like, oh, the picture I had in my mind of what this world looks like is one thing based on, maybe outdated imagery.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's like, there was a joke in I think it was in Civil War, when Black Panther character was first introduced into the Avengers saga.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a little bit of a joke about that as well, where somebody is like expecting the whole country to just be, straw huts.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And meanwhile, there's this bustling like metropolis of Wakanda, and then also just like other large
and way
cities.
more advanced technology than ours on the outside. Yeah. But yeah, the idea of like, first of all, she mentions that the high rises, each long windowed tower bristling with porcupine-like wooden rods that caught the wind, forcing air into the building and cooling each floor. Which, what a cool idea, literally and figuratively. I just never really would have thought of rods as being sufficient to do that.
Right.
You know, but of course, if you put enough of them and they're spaced out in a certain way, yeah, that makes total sense. So inside, when I first arrived in the city and learned that some high rises had 6 floors, 6, more than a hand of fingers, and that they expected me to live in one, I had nearly run straight back to the haunted bush. The orphan high-rise provided by the Anointed Ones was much nicer than my slum in Deja Town. It was mostly roachless, and I shared my chamber with only 4 other girls, a boon after sleeping back-to-back with 30 children in the sweat mill. But every night, the ceiling closed in. I pressed my body into the straw pallet beneath me, paralyzed with fear, until morning blushed through the tall slit windows. And it's just interesting, the idea of like, I don't want anything between me and the sky. And I'm wondering where this is coming from, you know?
I love this thing that she says. She says ordinary people, or at least small Sades. And I have to say, I love this repetition of the way she speaks about herself as a multitude of like all of us are the small people, or the, you know, small folk, or the little people, or whatever. And she says, ordinary people, or at least small Sades, were not meant to have sheets of rock between them and Am's sacred sky. I love that. There's something really, it's like it's doing like 2 things. One, there's something really, beautiful about that idea that there's not supposed to be anything separating them from the sky, but also the fact that she specifies that like it's like for small people, like the elite, they can have their towers, you know, and that makes sense. You know, they're allowed to have a separation between them and the sky or the gods, if you think of it like that. But little people aren't allowed to have that separation. They are to be seen at all times. Like if you think of like the buildings as being like a cover to hide you from the gods almost, you know?
Yeah.
But little people aren't afforded that. They're meant to be seen and to be observed at all times.
I wonder, like, if something about her, well, you know what? I'm going to back up for really quick and say, I didn't really think of this, and I texted Rashawn this, but I've been the spoiled one for Raybearer. So technically, I can just read this whole book.
I know, that was so funny when you texted me that.
Literally never thought about it. Like, and I had to sort of stop and be like, do I want to do that? And I can't decide. I haven't yet. I have not read ahead. But I could. And I'm kind of like not wanting to, in a weird way.
That's
because,
fascinating.
You know, like I'm kind of wanting to experience it with you, but I also am wondering, is there something that we're going to miss because I won't realize that it's, you know, significant? Like that can happen. Both me and Owen got things wrong when covering Avatar: The Last Airbender. And it was because neither of us was spoiled. And so there were people getting kind of frustrated because we both got like interpreted some things incorrectly or missed an explanation of things.
Well, if my opinion holds any weight, I would say, because as far as we know, and this could come back and bite me in the ass, as far as we know, this is a one-off. This is a standalone sort of entry in this universe, right? So it's not like there's going to be stuff set up here that you know for a fact is important to pick up on because it's going to show up in book, 2, 3, or 4.
Mm-hmm.
I think as experiments go, and the time to experiment with us sort of reading along together, it would be a situation like this where it's just sort of a standalone.
So you don't want me to read ahead?
I would kind of think it would be fun if you didn't read ahead.
Okay.
But but that's me as a reader. As a listener, you might have to ask the kids to weigh in. I don't know if people, that's the other thing too, because this book is so new. It's not like when you're doing some of the other properties where there are people who have already read it and they know everything that's coming and, they're well versed in the universe and they're picking up on every little thing. So, it could be a situation where we're all just reading along together.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I will refrain from reading ahead. And, I reserve the right to eventually,
of course,
change my mind on that.
Yeah.
And as of right now, yeah. Sure.
And I mean, and somebody might mention something to you that makes it make more sense to go ahead and read ahead. Like maybe somebody is like,
true.
You know what I mean? So your options are open. I mean, you run this shit. You can do what you want to do.
That's true.
So never forget.
Forget that. But anyway, so what I was going to say was that I am wondering if there is something related to her power that makes it so that she doesn't like to be out of view of the sky.
Mm-hmm.
Is something about how she can see spirit silt connected to the sky, to the outdoors? Because it's a very particular kind of phobia that I don't know. I wanted to say at first that phobias often come from some sort of trauma, but I actually realized I don't know that that's true at all. That's just been an assumption that I've had. So I don't know. I'm just wondering if there's more to that than just, something that,
right.
she's born with, I guess, like a fear she was born with.
Because there's so little that we know and understand yet about what her power is. And we know from her initial interaction with the crocodile and then from the one that she has in this section, there is absolutely so much more to her than we even know yet. This idea that it could be something, for lack of a better word, supernatural going on that makes her feel especially uncomfortable. I really am tickled by that idea. That there is, because it would be, how fun would it be that she's explaining to herself the idea that it's because she's so small that she doesn't like being in like that. But what if it's because she's so big in a way that she doesn't understand yet, right? Like that she's too big to be kept in these spaces like this. Just turning that whole idea on its head. I can't wait to find out, y'all, what's going on with her. I cannot wait. I almost want you now to read ahead so that you know, so that you can that quickly. I did a 180.
I will never tell you though.
I know.
Ahead of time whether it's anything.
I know you wouldn't, but if you knew, there'd just be, I don't know. Not that you would give it away, but you would get extra delight out of these moments.
That's true.
So maybe for the fun of you should read ahead so that you get that, you get that enjoyment. Yeah, I'm torn already that quick.
I'm gonna have to think over. This is a weird. Anyway, okay. So when they come in, there is a conversation happening already.
Oh my God.
An old servant woman knelt blank-faced at the lady's side, fanning her. Isn't it sad, simple Hanuni? My eye for atmosphere, my tasteful decorations, my cold, hard money, all gone to waste. "You are hardly destitute," droned the old servant, who did not look at all simple to me. "Not yet, anyway. Calm your nerves, madam. It is like any business. The guests will come when they come." And basically what we've got here in this house are rich people who are very angry that this socialist structure has redistributed wealth, even though that's like barely true, really.
It's like a little bit
redistributing. Yeah,
it's
like the sources of wealth, which is the same thing to them, I guess. Like you still have the money you had, but and evidently, as we find out later, this family were the ones in charge of a mine that was treating them essentially as slaves. And they got that shit taken from them.
Yeah, they lost a ton of money.
Yeah.
And lost their
they're
titles.
Disgraced.
Yeah. And this location of this inn used to be in a very like hoity-toity part of town, right? That was, that catered to the elites, to the intellects, to the higher ups. And now there's just all kinds of riffraff hanging around. And I say riffraff in like, meaning, that this is the way that Mamadele thinks of them.
Definitely.
And
we've got the wrong sort moving into our neighborhood. And it's not fair that cancel culture has made it that nobody wants to come and hang out with us anymore.
Right, that's exactly what it is. She was like, ever since those she calls them bleeding hearts. Those bleeding heart anointed ones opened up Unity Square. Nobody who is anybody will set foot on the street. Like they just ruined our whole reputation, our whole neighborhood, our whole livelihood by opening up the doors to the unwashed masses.
That's the one. Man, yeah. So you guys, this whole thing, it's so funny because this like servant woman, I was expecting her to just be like, "Yes, my lady, I'm so sorry." And she just has no patience for her mistress at all.
Giving her the business to the point where the lady of the house has to sort of backtrack. And she's like, "Oh, I forgot you don't understand sarcasm." It was just a joke. Why you guys got to take everything so seriously, you stupid liberals? Where's your sense of humor?
Of course the little urchins need a place for their gains. Do you know how much I give to charity every year? I have been so good to you people.
But what about the rest of us, she says? The thinkers, the job makers. Don't we deserve a place to play too?
It's just amazing that like her very argument, she doesn't understand how you are acting as if you can't play and visit the same places. Why do you think that? Because you do not think that you are the same caliber of person.
Exactly.
And if you just stopped and thought about that at all, but she doesn't, like, why would she? She's never had to.
Nope. She is, and it's funny too because we find out, like you said, a little bit later, we get a little bit of their backstory, which is that they, were once very affluent, had lots of money, titled. She had a husband, and when they lost everything, her husband died shortly after. So this is at this point, basically a single mother trying to make a way with the one thing she has left, which is this property in the city, trying to give her daughter a good life and like, keep their station, and has to work kind of hard. So you would think that experience would have endeared some sort of, I don't know, empathy.
You would think.
But
incorrectly.
But it turns out it did not. And so small Sade is presented to the lady of the house, And there's a funny little interaction with Yin with the flowers, because she has brought flowers for her girl. And she has to just do this really elaborate song and dance to continue to stay on the good side of Mamadele, who is supposed to not be aware of the relationship between Yin and her daughter. But I'm not sure how unaware she is.
That's also my question. It feels like she doesn't know at all. Like there's just I would expect, I should say, that if she knew, she would be a lot more hostile to Yin than she is.
Right.
I've already forgotten. Ewan?
Let's see. It says...
right. It's at the beginning. I forgot.
At the beginning of the book, it says... Because I forgot that fast, too. It says to pronounce it Y-E-H and then U-N with the emphasis on the un. So, Yeun.
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 Okay. Yeah, I would expect her to be more hostile. And she really doesn't seem to be. It's like...
Right.
She's hostile in as much as she is cranky with everybody.
Mm-hmm.
But there's no real, like, targeted, what are you doing here? You aren't going out with her. Like,
yeah.
I thought it would be a lot more pointed, and it doesn't seem like to me, I don't think that she does know.
It seems like she seems to, the only reason I say I'm not sure about what she knows is because part of the condition is that her daughter be married to a man by the end of this trial period. Mm-hmm. She doesn't say, my daughter will be married. She says, my daughter will be married to a man.
Yeah.
Which could just be cultural. Like it could just be just a way of a turn of phrase that's actually more common than I realize. Or or maybe she knows that her daughter isn't interested in men. Maybe she doesn't know specifically about the relationship with Yun, but maybe she knows her daughter doesn't see it for the men, for the men's.
The men folks. Indeed.
But yeah, so then she looks at Sade and says, "And what exactly are you?"
Anytime a person says, "What are you?" to another person, I have to, it gets my back up.
A little bit, right? Like,
as they say, I don't care for it. I've had this said to me and have often just been like,
wait,
I don't even want to answer you. I just want to ask you what the fuck you mean by that.
You've had somebody say that to you?
Oh, yeah. When they want to know my parents, what genetic
are you
mixture.
Telling me the truth right now? People said to you, "What are you?"
I've told you this before.
I have blocked it out because I can't even get over it.
Yeah. It was so weird. I still remember the one that I remember the best was I was working at the Goodspeed Opera House in Connecticut, and there was a piano player, and he was just sitting across from me, gazing at me at one point. He was gay, so I never felt any sort of creepiness, but he was just like really looking at me and seemed not to realize that he had spaced out and stared. And I finally just like made eye contact, and he, without blinking an eye or seeming to feel any shame that I had caught him just staring, "What are you exactly?"
Wow.
And I knew what he meant, and I was just like, so I just told him, and I said, "My mom is white and my dad is Hispanic." And he said, "Yeah, I think that kind of makes the prettier types of people." And I was like, I know you're complimenting me, but so I don't want to get annoyed, but like, I think that makes, it was just so, we were all objects that had just been combined like cans of paint. It was just so weird. And it is the sort of thing that like a person wouldn't really get why this is offensive when they think they're complimented. So like, I remember just sort of not answering him because it almost didn't feel like he was even talking to me. It felt like he was just sort of like, thinking to himself out loud.
She just had the misfortune to be there while it was happening.
So I just let it go and like didn't answer him at all. But I remember just being like, Jesus, at the time.
My God. I don't think anyone's ever asked me that before because I am unambiguously Black, you know?
Yeah.
I think I may have had 1 or 2 times where somebody has asked if I had a certain ethnicity in my background, you know, whether like I had family from certain countries, but I would just be like, yeah, no. Just Black. I'm Black. That'll have to do.
My apologies that I am not more ambiguous. I'm sure we're all disappointed. I would love to present more of a mystery for you.
I got that sweatshirt that just says I'm Black mixed with Black. It's my favorite. But Sade says in response, you know, I love this too, because she says she's thinking this woman who is very very beautiful. She says this face would have stunned me into admiring silence if I hadn't just spent about an hour cleaning a god. So my ability to be stunned into silence, that bar has been raised a little bit. Yeah. So she looks this woman dead in the face and is like, I'm Small Sade from the orphan house. I'm your maid. And UN has to be like, you're a curse-eating maid. Like, don't bury the lead here. Mm-hmm. And Mamadele gets so excited. This is just what we need. Something no one else will have. This will bring the people in. I
guess.
And then she's looking at Sade, and she's like, well, you have the right look for it. Like, really giving her the up and down. And she's like, you know, I've had some people in the past try to pull an okie doke on me. One girl had the nerve to be fucking pretty. Can you believe that? Pretty.
One of my favorite parts of that is that eventually when Sade's like, well, I'm not pretty, she's like, yeah, but you could be at some point, with a real sort of we don't want that. And Sade has to be like, no, I won't, it will never happen. And she's like, oh good, I'm glad we agree, let's get started. I was just like, what the fuck is wrong with you, lady?
Oh God, it was so good. I love that she was like, relief washed over her face, but she had the decency to try to hide it.
Just barely the decency.
Right. So we find out that one, she thinks Sade is gonna like just start eating some curses right here, and she has to be like, no, that's not how this is gonna work. And she tells her, like, you know, it'll work better if I start on a smaller room, and I'll need to sing. And they go up to the daughter's room, and this is when we get to meet, I think it's Dele.
Yeah.
And we catch her.
Yeah, we've got Dele and Mamadele.
We catch her, like, climbing out the window.
She is utterly unapologetic about it too. I like really thought, oh, she's gonna be like, Mother, what are you doing here? And instead she's just like, oh, thanks for barging in. I guess that now I can't just take off like I was hoping because I have to deal with your fucking drama. Like, it was just a whole like very overt irritation that I wasn't expecting.
It's so the hostility between the two of them. She says that to her mom, like, how nice of you to barge in. And her mom is like, I could just ask you, why are you scaling the walls like a demented reptile?
When like a demented reptile. I mean, come now. That has to go into my fucking back pocket for use in the future.
Right.
It might not be the appropriate thing to say, but it's going to be said at some point.
It's going to be said regardless.
Mm-hmm.
And the mom says, like, with no drama in her voice, I'll board the window. And Dele is like, I'll scream and scare the customers. Both just as These bitches be arguing every day.
Yep.
All day, every day. That's all they do. And I know that the whole house is sick of them both.
Fucking sick of it. Oh my God.
So
I really do, like, I was just so taken aback by how, like you say, like, overtly hostile they are. I was thinking it was going to be, I need to make it seem like we get along, even though there's a current of tension, and it's very clear that we do not. But nah, why would they? These are just servants. It's not guests. They don't need to, like, put on for them.
That's exactly right. There's no need to put on because these are just servants, right? Mm-hmm. So there's this, like, ice in the room, and Sade has to be like tapping with her cane, like, to remind everybody that she's here. And she's like, is this the room that you wanted me to clean? And Dele is like, you brought in a curse eater? Really? Like, cause she's immediately thinking this is about you trying to fix me, air quotes on the fix.
Yeah.
And the mom has to be like, it's not just for you, getting kind of defensive. She's going to be for the whole inn. You know, if she passes probation, we're going to do a whole rebrand and offer her services as like a way to get business drummed up. And Dele is looking at this and she's not buying it. But then she sees Yin's hand on Sade's shoulder, and Yuen mouths please. And Dele is like, fine.
Yeah, I like that. It's like the hand on the shoulder, she just immediately is going, oh, it's like that. Mm-hmm. Okay, mm-hmm. Never mind. I was gonna make it into a whole
right thing. I was about to do something y'all don't even know. I was about to put on a whole show, but I won't. And they kind of make room and all start just sort of staring at small Sade, and she's like, oh, I guess it's time for me to perform. And she starts to sweep and sings a little song. The words just sort of come out, and it mother, may I burn the garden, father, may I cut the roots, shall I salt the seed you planted, sha sha sha. And it says, the level of spirit silt stunned me. It was ankle high. Ankle high, y'all.
Yeah. And
then another little song. Mother, is this spade my virtue? Father, is this rake my worth? Shall I blunt the tools you sharpened? Cra, cra, cra. And Sade tells us that what she's seeing floating around the silt is the disappointed hopes of the mother. The disappointed hopes that Mamadele had pinned to her daughter grew like silver mold up Dele's walls. I cannot get over, guys, how much I love what she's doing here. We talked about this in the first episode, so I don't really go into it too much. But this idea that the disappointed hopes, the unfulfilled wishes, the pain, the self-loathing, the greed, the all of it, is tangible, even though people can't see it with the naked eye. It's there and it's smothering people. She says, shedding spores that floated in the air, revealing the lovely room to be a suffocating den of pollen. I love this so much, you guys. It just really is speaking to me on such a it's just really speaking to me. Especially just when we think about the ways we talk about mental illness and mental health in this country, and just this imagery is just really, it's getting to me.
And it's really interesting that she doesn't, when she's asked, how long is this going to take? There's a moment where Sade almost is like, maybe I need to lie. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And she says, a month.
Yeah. Wincing.
And has to back it up with, I can also do regular cleaning and you would barely have to pay me anything. And she asks for 1 Kira a week and is offered one Kira every 2 weeks and is glad to get it.
Yeah.
And I was just really like watching this with a feeling of profound dismay. That's the only way that I can describe it. Of like, oh, you girl, you could ask for more than that. Come now. You know?
I mean, she did. She asked for one a week and she couldn't even get that.
I mean, she asks, but she doesn't negotiate.
Oh, I see what you mean. No,
you know what I mean?
No,
she's like, she puts it forth, but instantly capitulates to 50% less and makes it seem like she's being done a favor.
I mean,
and it's just very, very sad. 2
pages ago, you know, she literally booted out of the orphanage with, like we said, you know, bus fare, and was going to most likely end up sleeping on the street. So she is like, I agree with you that she's being undersold here, but like keeping in mind that she had 0 options. That she's like legitimately grateful for this, and is in the middle of saying how grateful she is and how you won't regret it. And Mamadele is like, but for such a fee, which is wild, such a fee, ma'am.
I don't know what this money is, but I know it ain't enough.
No, it's not enough. Like, I don't
need the rest.
The rate
a
of
conversion table. Thank you. I'm good.
But she expects the house to be extremely lucky. And if you want a permanent place by the end of this month, the inn will be full of guests and Dele will be engaged to a man. Yeah. She's asking an awful lot for basically 2 paychecks. So she's going to get 2 Kira for a month.
I don't like it. I don't like any of this.
Yeah.
She should not have agreed.
But
where is she going to go, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, it comes down to that. I mean, I guess, well, you know, she said she didn't want to go to the palace, and that was the other offer she had. And she was like, absolutely not to that. So, so Sade is feeling like a lot of pressure because this is a lot of pressure. And she's thinking like to fill the inn with guests is going to be hard enough. There's some things she can do about curse eating the like main room area for where guests come in. But she's like, I can even clean Dele's room. But the only curse in there was her mother's disappointment. To be honest, cleaning the room is going to make her more likely to run off, not less. Which I thought was a really fascinating way to frame that, right? Like, like what's holding Dele down, what's anchoring her is her mother's disappointment and all. Like, if she's freed of all of that guilt and shame or whatever else is going on in that room, if she's freed of it, then she can be free to go and do what makes her happy. So Sade is like, well, maybe if I clean mom's room, I just sneak in there and clean that a little bit. Maybe if she feels better about her own life, even temporarily, she'll be less eager to change her daughter's life. And that's a whole sermon.
Literally. Yep. Listen, this is why I don't want children, because I know I would be like this. I know I would be controlling and like, don't you have the ability for X, Y, and Z. Why don't you do X, Y, and Z? Meanwhile, my child is like, I know this is wild, but it's because I don't want X, Y, and Z, mother. And I'd be like, I don't get it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah.
No children for me.
Yeah. I would be, I don't even want to think about what I would be like. I would really mean well. That's all I'm gonna say. Is I would. Really, I would fucking really mean well. But Jesus Christ. So after this, they take her down to meet the others, and she goes down into to the kitchen area, and we meet. There's so many names. There's one girl named. Where are the names at? Oh, because she doesn't name them for a while. First, it's just the Pestle girl. There's Fenric. There's an old man named Oni Jibola. There's the Fenric and the two girls' names. I'm not sure why it's taking so long for them to come up, but Kunval is one. And then I don't know, we'll see the last
I don't
girl.
remember it all, so I'm not going to be any help. I'm just going to wait till we get over there.
But yeah, so she comes into the kitchen and the girls are laughing and they're all kind of excited about like they've heard a rumor that Dele might really get married and they're talking about whether she would or would not do that. And one girl is like, she wouldn't get married, and good for her because these men are useless.
I'm an Ilioba man, a pale-skinned servant in his early 20s retorted, puffing out his chest, and I have plenty of uses. The two girls dissolved into laughter. Hanuni said, now, girls, but her lips twitched too, and the man turned bright red.
This is delightful.
LOL.
This is so delightful. The one girl is like, remind me, just how long ago since you've been shoveling sheep shit? It's been 1 year or two. Because if working here makes you an Ilioba man, then I, as head laundress, am practically an anointed one.
And this is my favorite. At her last words, an old Oluwani man who lay snoring against a cupboard lurched awake. Huh? Anointed? Praise the Adagio, he blurted, dropping something he had cradled to his chest. The object, an effigy, skittered across the floor and glinted in the light, a woman carved from dark polished wood crowned with a blazing disc of gold. Oh no, he gasped and scrambled to retrieve it. Forgive me, Adagio, woman born in spirit, sired, Empress Redemptor, and Ray-bearer undying. Holy is she who fought death in the underworld, and blessed is her right hand. Ekundayo and righteous are her anointed ones, so forgive me, Adagio, woman born, and he just sits there and keeps rocking.
Yeah.
And there's a moment for Sade of being like, yikes.
Yeah, right.
But he evidently is not missing a finger, which is the hallmark of a real fanatic.
Yeah. There's the cultist, and she's like, this guy is devout, but he's not like cut off a finger crazy, so I can relax a little bit. But apparently there's a cult of the Empress. I love that Sade is like, as you may know, who amputate half the index finger of their left hand, and she had seen them holding their hands up as they gilded and painted with henna, and they beamed as they sang of their Adagio and how she had descended to the underworld. Which is really like a little bit of a snippet, but fascinating to think what has sprung up in the time since the last book, right? And you know, it makes sense, of course, because as humans, like we cannot resist. We cannot help ourselves. We lift up into idolatry, you know. Whether I think that Terasai is worthy or not is not the point. It's the fact that we have to do this. We have to raise up people to this status and then worship them in such a way that we lose ourselves in it. You know? We'll just do it every fucking time. I love this. And they have to calm the old man down. Noonie is just like, you'll have plenty of time to praise her after we welcome the new hire. It's fine. Just relax. And then she introduces Small Sade to everybody. And we meet Kunval, who's the pestle girl, and her sister is named Wafa, and the old man is Onijibola, and then the guy Fenric. And these are the servants of the inn. And the dude, Fenric, is just like, I don't know, like, should you be touching her? When they all gather around to like meet her and they get her, you know, shake her hand and welcome her. And he's looking at her and just like, what if what she's got is contagious? Meaning like, you know, the splotches on her skin and everything. And the women here are clearly just more level-headed than this gentleman.
Yes.
Because they're like, first of all, she wouldn't have got the job if she was contagious. Like, if she was dangerous, Madam wouldn't have hired her and let her in her home. So calm down.
One of them says he only trusts rich people.
Oh, shots fired.
Like, that is damning. My goodness.
So they talk a little bit about like the point of having curse eaters in the salon, and then they feed her, and we find out that she is again people of the clay, and they don't eat land animals. And they are offering her new wrapper, and Wafa is like, you might need to scruff it up a little bit to like fit your role. And Sade is like, nah, I don't do dirty.
Yeah. So evidently, if you're a curse eater, in order to make yourself look unlucky enough to seem legit, you are supposed to be, I love that she's like, and you know, a smudge of soot on your face, like some sort of street urchin in a play, which did make me laugh, because if that isn't what I have criticized about like the Hunger Games depiction of poverty, I mean, yeah.
Yep.
But she is, because of who she is as a curse eater and able to see this filth, actually fastidious. So, yeah, she is just, that's the one thing that she really isn't going to compromise on. She's like, no, I'm going to do what I do. And
we find out that this is something that's sort of a holdover from her own mother. And she says, even when they were living in the cave, they kept that shit clean. And they scrubbed their clothes every day, you know, in the stream, and scrubbed them with plantain ash. And like you said, she's not going to compromise on this one part, which we haven't really seen her stand up for like any particular thing. So to find out that this is a value that she's not willing to compromise on and this is like one of the first ones that we hear about, is very interesting. And I like to think that it is a way of continuing to honor her mother, you know.
Yeah, I was surprised. Like, were you? I expected her to just be like, yes, ma'am, you know.
Yeah, everything else has been that way, right? Everything has been like, yeah. But she's just like, yeah, no, I don't like stains. This will do just fine as it is. And that's the end of the conversation.
Yeah.
Which means that when she says it, she's fucking said it. Like, they understand that that's just how this is going to be. And there's no trying to talk her into it. They're just like, oh, okay. So she freshens up a little bit, and we get a description of her one foot that was damaged in the accident. And
I'm sorry if you guys can hear this. Pippin is just going to town on a bone over here. And you may not be able to, but it seems so loud to me. But yeah, it might be nothing.
I can't say that I can hear it. Oh, wait.
Okay, cool.
Okay, yeah, I can hear it now.
Dang it.
So we get a little description of her damaged foot, and then she says this line where she's like, no serving girls had pretty feet, but still for years after the accident, the sight of my injury had filled me with shame, and I would fantasize about my foot disappearing completely as I walked on air, or imagined falling asleep and waking up to a brand new body part. That really reminded me, there's this bit in The Bluest Eye by Toni Morrison where the main character who wishes to have blue eyes, and she does this thing where she imagines her whole body disappearing. Ooh. But she can never, and she can imagine, like, she can make herself she can't literally make herself disappear, but she can imagine her parts of herself disappearing. But the one thing that she can never get to disappear are her eyes. Like, they always remain. And it's just like a refrain throughout the book. Have you read that yet?
I have not.
It's so good. Everybody should read The Bluest Eye. It is not the kind of thing you want a podcast about, but everybody absolutely should read it before they die. It is a remarkable piece of writing. But she also says, Sade,
Sounds so sad.
it is fucking devastating. It is devastating. And yet I will tell anybody to the day I die, read it. Read it. Read it. Read it. Read it. Fucking read it. It is. I have tears in my eyes just talking about it. It's that good. It's that fucking good. Whew! I just got chills. Sorry. But
it's
yeah.
It's such like a convincing endorsement, and yet also like, well, not reading that anytime soon.
Like, and it's really short too. It's not long. But it is. They're just not words for it. It is, to this day, one of the most beautifully heartbreaking books I've ever written. I love Toni Morrison. I love all her books, but The Bluest Eye fucking it slaps, y'all. Like, you're done reading it and you can't believe that a human wrote it. Like, how could somebody be this good? Like, it doesn't make sense. How could somebody be this good? It's ridiculous. It's but anyway,
but I don't want a podcast on it.
I would love to talk to somebody about it, but it is an extraordinarily heavy book with a lot of very, very heavy themes. It would have to be trigger warnings throughout the entire episode. So it just like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, it is phenomenal. But anyway, that made me think of that. But Sade then goes on to say how that as time passed, she has grown fond of her stubborn, lumpy companion because it had gotten her this far. And that
I really do like that.
Right. I love this, that no matter what, it hit the swelling and bristling and knitting itself together, fighting to remain afoot, no matter how motley its parts.
Yeah.
That's very good. That's good stuff right there.
Fighting to remain afoot.
Mm-hmm. Like that could be like a little bit of a play on words there too, right?
Mm-hmm,
yeah, it's good. It's good stuff. So she gets settled in. Somebody brings her something to freshen up and to fresh bandages for her foot, and she's sitting there kind of relaxing, enjoying being in her new place. And she starts thinking, maybe I won't see that crocodile again. You know, lots of gods, they get like so bored so fast. He's probably already bothering somebody else. Who am I?
She really thought.
Right? Like, if I just do my work and I keep my head down and be normal, you know, or at least a reasonable facsimile of being normal, and just remember my place, everything will be fine. I'll just be regular old Sade of the Balagun Inn. No biggie.
If only it were that easy, madame.
Listen, if it were that easy, we would not be at the beginning of this book, ma'am. I don't know how to tell you that, Sade, but we are at the very beginning of this book.
Don't you know what book you're in? Come now. Get with the program.
So this is when they bring her stew, and then she doesn't eat the meat, and Fenric comes and has a lot of shit to say while he's eating the meat out of her bowl.
Oh my God, just picking it right out of there. I know that like the whole thing is that she doesn't want it, but man, I get very in my feelings about people just helping themselves to food from somebody else's plates.
Like 1 second ago, you were worried about me being contagious, and now you all up in my shit, eating out of my bowl. And while he's eating her food, he's telling her that he used to be from that backwards ass, you know, religion too. But now that he's in the city, he let that go and let all that country bumpkin shit go. The mud worshipping peasants of the clay. Listen, you are so right about this LLC.
I'm saying. Yeah, he's very. They even say like pull yourself up by your own sandal straps at one point, and I was like, all right, we get it. And
I think it's funny too because he he's pale. I don't know if he's from like the northern part where they're like white in this universe.
I think he might be, because he's described as turning red.
Right, he's turning bright red as well too, right?
Yeah.
So, but when he starts talking about being a person of the clay, I got confused. I was like, wait a minute, I think that's a whole different thing.
I don't know. Yeah,
But,
she just describe him as light skin, not white. So I don't know.
Yeah. So, but he is definitely given LLC, bro. He's converted to the god of fire, the warlord of fire, I think is what he's called. He's got his little talisman that he wears, the coin, and it's fake. Before he can even answer, somebody else is like, it's fake.
I love it. She gets real impressed for like an instant, and you can almost feel him like being smug, and then his balloon gets popped instantly.
So
and I was like,
fast. And he's like,
I shouldn't already be rooting against this guy, but I am a little bit.
And he's like, it'll be real one day. I'm not like the rest of you. I'm willing to work hard to grind. Yeah. Even the grind part is in there. So this is when we find out that they refer to themselves as amenities because they are the objects an inn takes for granted but could never go without. And Wafa is named Feather Pillow, and Kunval is Breakfast Tray. Fenric is Bathwater. The old man is Chamber Pot, which is so unfortunate.
I swear to God.
Like, it could have been literally anything else.
Anything.
Why
please.
that? Why that? And Hanuni is the last one that answers and almost doesn't want to be a part of this nonsense. And that's her word, this nonsense. But her name is Baby Rattle, which I cried.
Baby Rattle, because she has to calm down some fucking, like, tantrums.
Yeah, she's been quelling tantrums from both the mother and the daughter since they were born. That's how long she's been a nanny to these two women. And they ask Sade to pick her name, and she gets out of it because she's just got here. She's not even sure she's going to be here in a month. But there's a moment of Sade being like, I really fucking love it here. And the fact that I might have to leave after a month really like hurts her heart. And it says the only thing worse than living nowhere at all was to love somewhere, to fit somewhere, and then after trying your very hardest to lose it forever. Yeah.
Sad concept, man.
Yeah. That's the risk of, like to not have anywhere is awful. But then to find a place where you feel like you fit in and then know that you can lose it is a special type of grief and panic, So they have this bedtime ritual. Can you remind me, didn't the Anointed Ones have a similar... Did the Anointed Ones do this too? Where they, when they were children, all in the big room and they would like say goodnight to each other?
Yes. Yeah, they all shared the same space. It wasn't until it wasn't until he becomes actually emperor, I think, that they get moved into separate rooms, but they don't actually adhere to those rooms because they have that thing where they have to be touching. Right. Well, they don't have to be, but like they have that sickness that they get if they're apart for too long. So they just tend to be in physical contact all the time.
And did they have the sort of name roll call routine or ritual, like where they said goodnight to each other?
That specifically I don't remember, but that doesn't mean it's...
Something about this felt very familiar, and part of me was like, am I just remembering the Waltons? Because that shit's just lodged in the back of my brain from like 1983.
Oh, wow.
For reasons, the Waltons would end the episodes where they all be like, good night, John Boy. You know that? You might not know that.
I don't know that.
It doesn't sound like you know that. Well, back in the old days, there was a TV show about even older days. And at the end of it, they would do like this roll call where all the characters said goodnight to each other. And like the last one was always like, "Good night, John Boy." And that made me think of this, where they all say their amenity names. And then after the last person says it, there's a silence, and then small Sade peeps out her name, and they all cheered, and one of them starts going, "One of us, one of us." And she's just feeling so happy for a moment, you know? Like she's like, it's just her cheeks are burned with happiness. And then she's laying there, and she remembers, or the fear of tall buildings comes back. And she can't sleep. And she's tossing and turning because she's just so freaked out about being this high up, and she can't get comfortable. And then the little gecko shows up, and we know it's about to be some shit.
Gecko. She's like, no. What? But yeah, like as soon as the gecko turns up, I was like, oh, right. Did you like put together that this was the distress that he's feeling? Yeah. Oh my God, Pippin.
He is going to town now.
Oh my God. I think he's annoyed with me, and it's just like, fine, you don't want to let me out? You don't want to go in the yard and play with me? I don't mind. I'll just make myself busy right here, right near your mic. Right up in your mic. You're welcome. But yeah, so this is funny because I had been following Jordan Ifueko on her Instagram, and she posted a like drawing, like I don't know if it's fan art or something that she commissioned to be done, but she has an image on her feed of the two of them floating in midair against a like building wall. And of course, you know, when I saw it, I did not know what this was. And then when we got to this scene, I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, I know all about this, even though I do not know about this. There's no like spoilers in the image itself. It's just the what do you call it? Just like without real context. Although I will say, and I thought that you might find this interesting, she mentions that she like was inspired to do like a character like this with Sade's ability by the people in like in care for, oh my God, why are my words so hard today? By healthcare workers during COVID.
Interesting.
Yeah. People who are out here like on the front lines, potentially just making it easier for other people to live and putting themselves potentially in danger for the convenience of others.
Oh, wow.
And I thought that was really, really interesting.
Wow. Oh, wow.
Right?
Yeah, that's quite good. Huh.
So I just wanted to mention that.
Yeah, no, I kind of like that though.
Yeah, same. So yeah, he is the first thing that he says, like after obviously I'm here because you can't sleep, so I can't sleep. But he looks into the room that she's sleeping in and sees just the like bedroll and assumes that it's the bedroll that's the problem. He's like, that's your bed. I mean, we can take care of that. No problem. I'll get you a new bed like that. And she has to be like, no, that's not it at all. And we floated to land lightly in the rooftop garden. The perfume of night blooming jasmine and lemongrass wafted around us. My body relaxed. With soft leaves beneath me and the sky above, I could have been stargazing with my mother again. Better? He asked. Yes, but you will become a beast even faster now. Yen said casting enchantments will speed up your curse, and here you are flying over buildings and making pillows. I had no choice, he insisted, flopping onto his back. When it comes to curses, the only accelerant stronger than magic is madness. And if I had felt you twist and turn for one more hour, I would have gone insane.
Good.
But she's quite comfortable up here, as much as she's trying to be like, I'll never be able to sleep up here. But she's like already half.
Yeah. And she's like, and if I'm not back in my room tomorrow, that people are going to be suspicious. And besides, you're going to take my teeth when I nod off. And then she's like, oh, shit.
Cracked up.
Did not mean to say that part out loud.
You're going to take my teeth. I didn't see that one coming. I don't know why. I should have. Of course you would assume that. Like, this is this weird shit that she's out here dealing with. You know? So, like...
Right.
Why wouldn't you? But I definitely, when she said that, I was just kind of did a spit take. Like, what?
When
he's gonna what now?
He's like, oh, word. So that's what they're saying about me now. That's the latest crime. They're laying at my door. Tooth burglar. That's so fucking hard. So this is when we find out that all the girls that have come through the doors, they leave eventually. And he swears by that. He says he cuts the bindings and they leave. Some stay for a little while, but in the end, they always pick the door. He hesitates for a moment and then he says, you know, I changed some of their features so they wouldn't be recognized by people who sacrificed them. Some of the girls try to go through the same door they came through, but I don't allow that. It just seemed too dangerous. Why would you want to return to a place that discarded you? And she says immediately, because you have nowhere else to go. And she's right. And she's feeling like it says, you know, my feelings were confusing, a whirl of relief and anger. Like she's just kind of, this is a lot of information coming at our girl in the middle of the night while she's been floated outside of her window. Like some fucking vampire has come to get her. You know, that fucking trope where they're always floating outside your bedroom window.
Yeah, her issue with him, which I thought was interesting, it's not like just so they have somewhere to go, but like, oh, great. So you made a choice for them. Women who have always had choices made for them. Yep. Cool. Yep. I guess we just never get to decide anything. What did I expect? Yep. This is how the world works. Like, there's just such resignation mixed in there, and it's just really sad.
And she can't even get that part out. Like, she's talking about when she says the thing about like nowhere else to go, and like, what about their homes, their lives, their families? And he's like, well, I gave them everything that I could give them. And that's when she's thinking to herself, but you should have let them choose. But she doesn't actually say that out loud to him.
Yeah.
Because she, well, I don't actually know it's because. My thinking is that because of her nature of not really saying the things, you know, she's so small and meek, you know.
I really feel like it's because too, like, what's the point when nothing will change? I can say the thing because it's true, but who cares? Yeah. It's true because it's true. It's saying it won't undo it. Saying it won't, you know, put him back in the position where he can make a different choice this time around. Like,
and when she says that this is the way of things, she also says it's better than to think that my small nobody person rage could change it.
Yeah.
Right. So there's a not just the like the whole system itself like can't be changed, but a very specific, there's no way I could affect any change. So again, that resignation that we talk about with her so often, she's, you know, she's so resigned to the smallness that people have titled her, have named her. People have named her small, and she has really internalized that. There's a bit like towards the end of this conversation where he says her name. He just calls her Sade, and she corrects him. She says small, and he's like, I'm sorry, what? And she's like, small Sade. That's what everybody calls me. You forgot. And he says, I did not forget. I disagreed. I was like, ooh, bars.
I love it.
Bars.
I love it. And she loves it too for a second, and then very quickly is like, no. I don't need to be getting ideas in my head about being bigger and better than I am.
Know your place comes to her brain almost immediately. And we get some information about what's going on with these teeth. And he's still also stuck on the fact that she just walked in to his house.
Yeah.
And she explains to him, listen, I don't know about where you come from, but where I come from, the common people, we have to deal with this bullshit all the fucking time. The spirits often live in the in-between places, the cracks and the closets and the shadows and the edges, the places where powerful people don't have to ever spend any fucking time. You don't have to see the shit that we have to see. You don't have to go into these places to hide or these places to clean. Powerful people do not visit such places. And this thing that you said about thinking about COVID and thinking about the essential workers, healthcare workers, this is really now really resonating with that additional context.
Yeah.
Because everything she's saying here about the things that we do that no one takes notice of unless they're not done, then you fucking notice us. And she says,
any sort of caretaking labor, but
like all of it, from caretaking to healthcare to service sector jobs. Like, nobody thinks about those people, until we're not there to do the shit.
Yep.
Then all of a sudden we're very important and everybody gives a fuck.
We're heroes.
Oh my God. Do you remember that bullshit? Jesus Christ. We were so disgusting. We're so fucking disgusting.
Yeah, we're gross.
But she's like, yeah, but people like me, we scrub those linens in the stream, and we have to fucking do our rituals to make sure that we don't drown in the stream from the such whatever sprites that she calls them. And when you're in the kitchen, we have to mist the coals so that the inner sprites don't nest and burn the stew. Like, she just basically like, listen, we deal with this shit all day, every day. So yeah, I walked into your shrine and I made offerings to your messenger, but you need not act as though I had lost my senses. I might be common, but I'm not a fool. I said, oh, okay.
She just told him it is.
Just got done talking about how you don't really say the things or feel like you're not in a position to say the things. And then I turn the page and you're saying all the things. So then she says, I can't figure out what you want. And he's like, want? And she's like, and she has to swallow hard because now it's getting a little hard to just be saying all the things. And she's just like, yeah, like, in my experience, no shade. It felt like there was a no shade in there. In my experience, gods want one of two things. They want worship or amusement. And gods who are happy want mortals who admire them, and gods who are miserable want mortals to distract them. And I just said, good God. But like,
same,
right? But she's looking at him and she's like, I don't understand what you want from me. And she says, if you didn't want the sacrifices, why would you build the fucking houses then? And this is when we find out, y'all,
this dude,
this is not what he had intended on happening.
He thought nobody would notice.
They were supposed to just creep up over time. But the way that the pale arts work, that shit is unpredictable. And fucking 5 houses popped up overnight. Fully, like, erected houses.
Dude. I can't. There's just something about him just being so like, hard. Yeah, that wasn't on purpose.
Right. Like, but like, what do you do?
Oh,
it's done now. Like, can you undo it? Can you try again? Are you stuck with it? Like, apparently you're just stuck with that shit.
I guess so.
But I'm trying to imagine his face and just being like, oh shit. Oh shit. Oh shit. Like as each house popped up.
Oops.
Oh god. So yeah, he says that the buildings were a way to anchor his tooth portals to the Savannah house. He needed a way to get around town quickly without being seen. And he says, I run errands for somebody that he calls the boss almighty. And she's, well, an old friend, and I owe her about 1,000 favors. So occasionally I act as an agent in delicate situations, areas where she cannot publicly intervene. So I am thinking of Terasai.
Right.
Sade is thinking about the Alekbato, whose name you said it one time before, Laxlix?
I think so. I feel like I remember it being like having fewer vowels than I'm used to. And so I was sort of like, I'm not sure I'm saying that right. But yeah.
And this one does not have a handy dandy pronunciation guide at the beginning of the book for some reason for this character. I guess because it's magical and not like a human.
I like to think that Jordan was just like, oh, I don't know how you say it. I like how it looks written down. So I'm not even going to pretend with that one.
And so we find out that he has taken these teeth that are anchoring these houses are his own teeth.
Yeah.
And Sade is thrilled at this news because that's just a much better proposition than anything she had been imagining, where he was just stealing the teeth of young girls.
Which, like, I totally get why, but it is just very funny about just being like, oh, I'm so happy that those teeth, like, just the idea that, like, oh, good, you're pulling out your own teeth. Just a weird sentiment to have, even though in context it completely makes sense.
He tells her, so you can stop hiding that adorable mouth of yours. Because
oh my God.
Apparently
he said that.
She is just making sure that she doesn't smile too brightly, too widely. She doesn't want him thinking about her teeth at all.
I did want to mention, though, he does this because, like, his own bones are necessary. And technically, teeth are not bones, apparently, which I found out recently.
Oh, is that right? I feel like I kind of knew that, but also the idea that they were the same stuff as bones has been in my brain for so long that I immediately rejected that new information.
Yeah, it's I'm looking it up now to see dentin, a bone-like tissue that makes up most of a tooth structure, keratin, and enamel.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well,
just a little actually from the nerds over here.
And so yeah, he's got those stones in his arm. This is what he's explaining, is that the magic of that has imbued all of his bones with the ability to be like little portable lodestones. And it's easier and they're more stable when they're stationary. And the way he had been moving around, just sort of like disappearing and appearing at different places, was going to be accelerating his transformation. So this is why he decided to have the 5 houses. So eventually it's time for him to let her go back to sleep. She's concerned for a moment about this bond that they have going both ways, and he reminds her or assures her that it's really only one way. And then we go on to the next chapter.
I want to mention too, like she asks, like, does it only go one way? And he says yes, and she says that's not fair, and he says no, it's not, but not for the reasons that you think.
Right.
And then when she is looking at him, I watched his mouth and found myself wanting to touch him again. The crocodile stilled, glancing up. His eyes shone with amusement. When I remembered his words from the shrine, horror froze every one of my bones. Your needs will be difficult for me to ignore. Oh, word!
That's right. I'm so glad you mentioned that. Right. That's what's going on there? Yeah.
Oh, I love it so much.
So then we have the actual cleaning of Dele's room. She is waking up Dele the next morning. She's going to be her attendant as well, because it just doesn't make sense to have one person up there being the attendant and then having Sade also in the room cleaning. So she shows up with breakfast, and Dele is like not an early riser. She's sprawled out across her bed. And she says to her, so you come to cure me? And Sade is just like, I'm not here to cure anything. And I don't think you're sick. And Dele is like, yeah, just cursed. And Sade says, yeah, cursed with many fine clothes and pretty things. I don't know how we should keep them all clean.
That was a good response. I liked it for that one.
Good. And Dele also seems to appreciate that response as well, because she says, Yun tells me all the time that I whine entirely too much for a girl with seasonal outfits. So there's some self-awareness there that I appreciate, that makes her sort of endearing.
There's some self-awareness there.
There's some. There's more than her mother exhibited, at least.
Yes. We very quickly come to see that is finite. And at her convenience, for sure. Yeah, so she has this whole I'm not like my mother, and you're going to clean, well, that means I'm going to help. And it's so funny because after agreeing to help, it's like they do one thing. They take the curtains down, I think, and that's it. And she says, all right, I think it's time for a break. I was like, wow, okay, that's even worse than me. And I consider myself somebody who just really needs
Sade's
prodding.
Sade's response to the offer of help is immediate, she's just going to slow me down. Mm-hmm. She's just going to get in the way.
Which, as I understand it, is exactly how parents feel when they are cooking dinner and their 4-year-old comes in and says, I want to help. I want to help make dinner. And they're like, oh, you adorable creature. I do not want to see you right now. Please leave.
There's a Simpsons episode. It's an old one. And it's Thanksgiving. And Bart wants to help. And Marge has got everything on the stove is going. 2 things in the oven. Microwave is going, and Bart is like, I want to help. So she's like, fine, you can open the cranberry sauce, and it's in a can. And so he's like, oh, great, I can do this. And then he goes looking for the can opener, and he can't find it. Mom, where's the can opener? Right?
If that isn't what it's like working with middle management, just, no, we'll take care of it. We just need you to show us every inch of how to do that. Get the fuck out of my face.
Just go away and let me do it, please.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, she rolls up her sleeves too, she's really going to help. And they have a cute little moment of getting the curtains down where she has to put Sade up on her shoulders. And they actually get the drapery down. And Dele tells us that, she says, do you know why Mother hates my needlework? It's because I only embroider weeds. I do it to annoy her, I suppose, but also to remind myself that no plant is truly useless, only unlucky in where they bloom. Which I thought was kind of sweet.
Yeah, I like that.
And then immediately she's like, time for a break.
Instantly. I really I had a moment while reading this where I stopped and was like, did I space out and they did a bunch of shit? Like, I really thought it was me,
Mm-hmm.
that I had simply missed all the activity that, and then when I realized that, like, no, that's how little they've done.
Oh, yeah.
That it felt almost instant to you. I was like, oh, that's amazing.
They don't
Okay,
get anything
great.
done.
I got it.
And she's trying to get Sade to come down to the spa with her, which she has already been told she's not allowed to use. And Dele is like, no, it's no big deal. The rules don't apply when you're with me.
Which I can't help but be like, that's easy for you to say.
Right.
I really feel like this girl would get in some trouble.
I do
and
too.
Then you would feel bad about it. Like,
I do too. I agree.
Just think this through.
Yeah. This, I think that Dele's intentions are like coming from a good place, but they're not coming from a place where she's actually thinking about the consequences or the ramifications of her actions or what she's trying to get Sade to be, to also do. And Sade has to be like, not only I'm not supposed to be down there, but also I'm not done. And she's like looking around the room and she's like, I only have the morning to spirit clean because I told your mom I was going to be like a regular maid too. And there's all this shit that has to be done. And she starts listing all the work that needs to be done. And Dele just appears to deflate at the reality of the work that needs to be done. And Sade is like, look, it's fine. Go. You've been super, super helpful. Go to the spa. It's fine. And Dele is like, no, I said I'd help, so I'll help. And she gives like another 30 minutes before she starts wandering off and her losing focus. And then some friends show up outside and start calling to her. And it's a fucking wrap. When the friends show up, I'm like, oh, this bitch is out the door. She is out the door. And she tries it. Oh, I can't come. I'm sorry. I can't come today. Looking all like this is the worst day of her life.
And oh my God.
His Sade is like, oh, for fuck's sake, just go. You know you want to. Just go. And Dele is out the door. I hope more tomorrow. As she runs out the door.
For 10 minutes.
I'll bring you a present. How about that? What's your favorite color? I bet it's green. Don't work too hard. You're brilliant. And then she's out.
This is just so funny. Like, she definitely means well. And it is funny because, like, Sade at first is like, oh, please don't help me. But then she goes to leave and Sade is like, oh, well, fuck you then. But, allegedly you didn't even want the help. I thought she would slow you down. But whatever, it's fine. But yeah, the fact that she wants to help, but she only has like a hypothetical understanding of all of this. And then the actual practical aspects are genuinely surprising to her.
Sade's like sort of overall impression of Dele is that she understands why Young fancies her, she says, despite how beautiful she is, like putting that aside. She says she makes declarations in a way that drew you in like a moth to lamplight. And beneath all her charm, her kindness felt sincere. And Sade starts wondering how honest Yin had been with Dele because does she know about the Pale Arts cult that she lived in with the crocodile? Because she still thinks that's a thing. And she's like, no, Dele doesn't know about the crocodile. She doesn't understand anything about what kind of shenanigans Young has been getting into when they're apart. And then she reflects on understanding that the secrecy was probably not necessary because she thinks that whatever is hiding in Yun's closet, Dele would be delighted by another scandal, even if it was just because it was one more thing to hide from her mother. Like she's picking up on this might be saying too much, but the Dele might be like in it for the drama. I don't mean in a relationship with Yin for the drama, but like she's just one of those people that lives for the drama. You know? And
it really is reminding me of Knives Out. and the like liberal daughter.
I still haven't seen that.
Oh,
wait, no, wait.
Rashawn.
Is that got the fucking what's his name? The guy who played Bond.
Yes,
Daniel
Craig.
I did see that. I did see that. I was confusing it with Murders in the Building, which I have not seen.
That one's fine. It's not great.
Oh.
In my opinion. Don't come at me.
But you were saying
there's a daughter who, like, you know, they're from this incredibly wealthy family, and the daughter is claiming to disdain it, but once they are actually like in a position to disdain it for real and put their money where their mouth is, all of a sudden it's not such a commitment after all that you've got. And it just kind of it really is like giving like liberal college white girl for me.
A little bit. It is.
Yeah.
It is definitely, you know, first year living on campus, like meeting other people from other backgrounds and really throwing in with the common man and rolling up your sleeves to do the hard work, and also discovering after 10 minutes that you're really not built for hard work.
Yeah, you know? Hard work is hard. Who knew? Wow, like that? Yeah.
And Sade is thinking as she's looking around this room, because she's still got so much work to do in it, she's just like, you know, I had guiltily considered faking spirit clean. Like, it just pretend like you're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
But the more Dele rebelled, the higher my chances of getting fired, of losing everything. But after wobbling around on that room on her shoulder, surrounded by weeds and the rainbow tapestry, I sighed, hoisted the basket on my hip. I would spirit clean Dele's room as I had promised, but in the meantime, I would need all the help with Mamadele I could get. And then, small Sade piped a splotch of green from my basket, and I said it again. God damn it! What?
Again, dude.
And she's like,
Christ.
It's the middle of the fucking day in broad daylight. Is he here? Crocodile. The gecko affirmed.
Oh my God. I love the audiobook narrator too, the way she does the voice. Crocodile. Crocodile. Like, it's a very, like, the inflection of it is very different, and the like kind of croaking quality, it's very, very fun. I like it a lot.
Fun.
I really recommend the audiobook. It's very good, and her voice is so resonant and like rich. I was just instantly like, ooh, yes.
Did she do it herself?
Oh no, it's not Jordan.
Oh, okay.
No. But she's definitely like got the African accent down. I don't know if she herself is, because she does like an American accent for certain characters, which is really interesting to hear because that's not what I imagine.
Right.
But she pops up with it and I'm like, oh, okay. Why not, I guess. I don't know what this person sounds like, so sure.
I might treat myself to the audio version just for funsies.
Yeah.
Just like to listen to on my own, not like for the podcast, like when we're done. Because I can't do the audiobooks, and for the podcast, my brain just doesn't retain the information that way. It's unfortunate for me. But yeah, this motherfucker is back. She can't get between him and Dele, she can't get no work done.
It's true.
You know, how's she going to accomplish her goals in 30 days if they don't leave her alone to get her work done?
These people have no concern for her productivity.
They really don't.
Very rude.
No respect for her work ethic.
I get it.
But I am curious what he could possibly, unless he's going to pop up to like help her clean. If like, you know, like she's not necessarily under any kind of distress in this moment. So what are you doing here? What do you want, sir? What do you want?
It's funny because like it is, what do I want? What does he want? But when she says like, what do you want? There's a sense from him of just like, what do I want? What do you mean? And I'm like, yeah, what do you, she knows there's gotta be something, and there clearly is something. Like, why are you trying to pretend that's not the relationship that you guys have? You know, like she isn't a peer of yours.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And like we know from like that from the first part in the first episode that she's on that tapestry and that they were looking for her.
Right.
And we know that there is a want. There's a want.
Yes.
And they're just not being honest about what it is just yet. I'm hopeful that we get an answer sooner than later, so that we can get into the story of how do we get to that want? Like, how do we fulfill that want? Is it something that she can actually do? And is it something she should actually do? You know, as opposed to the whole book being a mystery about what is it he wants from her. It could really go either way. I'm hoping it's not, the whole book isn't a story of the why, but like, I want to get to like, not the why, the what. I want to get to the what of it so that we can figure out the why of it. Like, what, you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
I agree. And I think that probably it will, because Ray Bear moved pretty quick.
It did.
Like, you know, she really got that plot going after a point. So I have faith that we won't be wondering for too long. That is, if what we learn is the truth, which he may lie. Who knows?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's a very good point. Like, I'm taking like a lot of what he's saying as truthful, because, but I don't know if he's been telling the truth. Like, I've been just assuming for reasons. Like, I don't know why I'm so suddenly open to people just telling me whatever. But like, I've been taking everything
likable and hot.
Yeah, I think that's 100% it. I just been saying, oh, he's telling us the truth, but I have no reason to believe that is true. I don't know any evidence that he's being 100% truthful with her. I know he's keeping things from her. So, but I can't wait to figure out what it is. I can't wait to get into it. And it's not a very long book, so it should be happening shortly. Because there's really not much to this. It's really, really short.
Before we wrap up, first, I just want to let everybody know that there's a thing going on with Patreon, and I won't get too much into it, but suffice to say, Apple is pledging to patrons or Patreon creators more expensive if you do it from the app, but the actual creators don't get that money. So if you want to be spending extra money and actually have it go to creators, just pick a higher tier and do it through your browser, and then we will get the money, and it'd be great. And if you would like to pledge to us, it's patreon.com/unspoiled. And also, Rashawn and I are tossing around the idea of covering Supernatural at some point. So we have a little one-off episode where we talk about the pros and cons of this, and Rashawn tries to sell me on it. And I'm going to say hi to new patrons this month. We've got Marilee K, Michael Drobny, Corey Wayant, Tajitz, don't know about that one, Amber Schroeder, Nick Miller, and Felipe Agosti. So welcome to all of you. And yeah, and you guys, I totally understand if you accidentally, like, I pledged to a creator on Patreon recently and didn't even notice that the app had automatically opened. So I wound up pledging through Apple instead. And I was quite irritated because I did not mean to do that. And there's no way to like undo it and redo it. You just have to wait for the month to pass. Yeah. It was quite annoying. But I just wanted to, I'm not actually sure that is in place yet anyway, the charge thing. It may not be until November, I think, of this year, they said. So it may be fine for now. But I just wanted to let everybody know about this. I'm very lucky in that I will be mostly unaffected. But there are certain creators that this is going to really fuck with them. And it's just a bummer. And Apple, you know, like any large company, are evil. And they just do not care who they screw over because money. So
Cause money.
So yeah, that's about it. Patreon.com/unspoiled, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate you being here.
We do.
And I really hope that you are enjoying the coverage, and let me know if you're reading along or if you tried to read along and it didn't work out, which I've already heard of from a couple people. So you are not alone if that is the case. All right, everybody. Thank you again. And until next week, toodaloo, motherfuckers.
Bye, guys.
I
Unspoiled Network podcast.